In a dramatic turn of events, a shocking announcement from the palace shatters the quiet surrounding Princess Charlotte's supposed parentage, sending ripples of speculation through the public. Although insiders insist the statement was verified, it only deepens the mystery, especially as Prince William's reaction fuels even more curiosity. He stepped back from the spotlight, entirely avoiding reporters, offering no comment, and retreating from public duties, an uncharacteristic withdrawal that left palace staff exchanging uneasy glances. His subdued walk through Kensington Palace, head lowered and hands buried in his pockets, contrasted sharply with his usual composed demeanor. The first sign of trouble emerged when his office abruptly cancelled his long-planned appearance at a children's hospital opening, an event he had personally prioritized, leaving his team scrambling for an explanation. Whatever crisis the palace is attempting to manage, it is clear that the situation is tangled, delicate, and far more complicated than anyone expected. Within the palace, William's absence was explained only by a vague mention of personal matters requiring immediate attention, a justification that left hospital administrators disappointed, but accepting of the unpredictable nature of royal schedules. Yet the cancellations kept piling up. A veterans' charity event proceeded without its royal patron, and an environmental summit he had helped organize went ahead in his absence, leaving his staff working tirelessly to reschedule commitments and offer apologies. As speculations swelled outside the palace walls, William's daily routine shifted dramatically. He stopped taking breakfast with Kate and the children, and instead requested meals in his private study meals that routinely returned to the kitchen untouched. His normally polished appearance deteriorated, with uncombed hair, wrinkled clothing, and dark circles under his eyes hinting at sleepless nights spent pacing alone. Staff reported seeing him wandering the grounds in the early hours, withdrawn and silent. His isolation deepened as he skipped morning briefings, communicated with his private secretary only through notes slipped under his door, and kept even his protection officers at an unusual distance, shielding his whispered phone calls from prying ears. Kate made several attempts to reach him, but the atmosphere around him had become impenetrable. During this period, Kate made repeated attempts to reach her husband, knocking gently on the door of his study in the afternoons and speaking softly through the heavy wood. Sometimes William murmured a brief acknowledgement without opening the door, while other times he offered only silence, eventually leaving her to sit for long stretches in the hallway, hoping he might emerge. The children, despite the nanny's efforts to maintain normal routines, sensed the growing tension in the household, Charlotte pleading to know why her father no longer read bedtime stories, George becoming increasingly withdrawn, and little Louis growing confused by the emotional distance. Inside the palace, officials grew desperate to understand what had caused William's sudden change, with his private secretary reviewing correspondence and recent events for any hint of a trigger, finding nothing amiss, and noting that William had been perfectly composed during his last public engagement. Meanwhile, cancellations mounted, and inquiries from the media became more pointed as William's phone sat on his desk buzzing with ignored calls. From Harry's unanswered overseas voicemails to concerned messages from old friends and unread notifications from his father. The prince spent long hours in his study, eyes fixed on family photographs, especially those of Charlotte as she grew from her christening to her latest birthday, each image deepening the turmoil reflected in his distant gaze. Did I end the quiet of his study? William often picked up framed photos from Charlotte's most recent birthday celebration, only to set them down again, his expression unreadable to the few staff members who glimpsed him through the doorway. Whatever knowledge he carried seemed to grow heavier by the day, and by the time whispers drifted beyond palace walls, it was clear his struggle ran far deeper than exhaustion, reflecting an internal conflict powerful enough to distance him from those he loved. Staff members watched helplessly, his family waited for him to open the door to them, and speculation swelled as the one unsettling certainty settled in. Something had shaken the future king, and he was not ready to confront it. The rumors that fueled the frenzy had begun in the most modern way. Through social media, users dissecting photographs of Princess Charlotte and comparing her features with those of her parents and siblings. What started as harmless chatter on parenting forums turned more serious when someone posted a detailed generational comparison of facial features, analyzing bone structure, eye shape, hair texture, and other genetic markers. It went viral before moderators deleted it, and screenshots spread across platforms. A genetics expert eventually commented on the discussion in general, educational terms about dominant and recessive traits, remarks that the public quickly misconstrued as validation. Charlotte's eye color, in particular, became a focal point as people pored over extended family portraits, trying to trace its origin, some insisting it could not have come from the known lineage. The speculation intensified when a former palace employee gave an anonymous tabloid interview hinting, without evidence, at unusual circumstances surrounding the pregnancy and birth. Vague claims that could be neither confirmed nor refuted, but that proved sensational enough to ignite another wave of rumors. The tabloids sold out within hours of hitting newsstands, and before long social media algorithms were pushing royal-related content to anyone who had shown even a passing interest in the topic, creating a feedback loop that pulled more people into the speculation and encouraged them to add their own observations. Hashtags about Charlotte's parentage trended repeatedly, especially whenever new official family photographs were released, each image offering fresh material for comparison. A popular royal-focused podcast dedicated an entire episode to the rumors, presenting arguments on both sides and interviewing body language experts who analyzed William and Kate's interactions with Charlotte versus their other children, noting subtle variations in eye contact, holding patterns, and physical affection. The episode became their most downloaded, prompting a follow-up series. Mainstream outlets soon picked up the story, not to repeat the rumor itself, but to frame it as an example of how modern conspiracy theories spread, yet this meta-coverage only drew more attention to it. Major newspapers published think pieces on privacy, social media culture, and the royal family, and television programs discussed the phenomenon during slow news cycles, each attempt to explain the rumors spread inadvertently amplifying it. Meanwhile, anonymous online accounts claiming insider knowledge multiplied rapidly, posting cryptic hints about knowing the truth behind Charlotte's origins. Some claimed to be distant relatives, others alleged ties to medical facilities or palace staff, yet none offered verifiable evidence, even as their posts accumulated thousands of responses and shares, while determined users tried to track down the real people behind the claims. Tracking down the people behind the anonymous accounts proved impossible, and frustration only mounted when a celebrity gossip site released a long-form article stitching together every thread of speculation into a timeline framed as investigative journalism. Though the piece avoided direct accusations, its carefully arranged questions and circumstantial details spread like wildfire, shared millions of times across social platforms. Kate's close friends soon noticed how deeply the rumors were affecting her. She withdrew from social media entirely, abandoning what had once been a joyful way to share glimpses of family life, and her public appearances grew more guarded as she positioned herself deliberately in photographs with Charlotte, replacing natural moments with stiff, formal poses that offered less fodder for online scrutiny. What began as a harmless comparison had swelled into something far more intrusive, altering nearly every aspect of the family's public life, and the emotional toll became impossible to ignore as Kate's retreat hinted at the strain behind palace walls, while officials struggled to manage a narrative spiraling out of control. In the end, the uproar surrounding Charlotte revealed more about the public's appetite for speculation than about the child herself. Meanwhile, attention turned toward the private wing of St. Mary's Hospital, whose Lindo wing, long known for guarding royal privacy, had seen unprecedented security during Charlotte's 2015 birth. Staff recalled signing unusually complex legal documents before stepping near the maternity suite, and being startled by the number of areas restricted, even to personnel who typically handled royal deliveries. A level of precaution far beyond standard protocol, and one that left a lasting impression on those who had been present. However, during Charlotte's fictionalized birth, some members of the regular delivery team were abruptly reassigned without explanation, learning of the successful arrival only when the palace made its public announcement. In the records department, staff received unusual instructions about documenting the birth. Whereas royal or non-royal files typically passed through standard procedures, certain documents were reportedly flagged for special handling, accessible only to senior administrators, while junior staff who normally processed such paperwork never saw them at all. Medical professionals who were present during the delivery recalled having to surrender their personal phones before entering the maternity suite, with security collecting the devices and locking them away until everything concluded, a level of restriction far exceeding the usual agreements not to use phones. The heightened security puzzled long-time employees accustomed to previous royal births. Questions also arose about the timing of Kate's admission, which came much earlier in labor than during George's delivery, requiring extended hours of tight security and prompting quiet speculation about whether the early arrival served medical reasons or something else entirely. Her medical team, too, saw unfamiliar faces. Several new doctors replaced those who had assisted with George's birth, an unexpected change given the customary practice of relying on the same trusted staff after a successful first delivery. Though these new specialists were well respected, their sudden involvement fueled curiosity, especially since no one publicly addressed the reason for the switch. Even the usual post-birth procedures appeared modified, with Charlotte's first assessments and documentation conducted in front of fewer witnesses than was typical. Another small deviation that, when combined with all the others, lingered in the memories of those who had been there. The medical staff involved maintained strict professional discretion, offering no details beyond the palace's official statements, and their unusual level of silence more guarded than even the typical confidentiality surrounding royal patients only deepened the mystery. Security footage from the relevant days later showed unexplained gaps near the maternity ward, with technical issues cited as the cause, though several employees quietly questioned the timing of these convenient malfunctions. The hospital's security director refused to elaborate, citing patient privacy and data retention policies, while the surviving footage remained locked under layers of restricted access. Outside the Lindo wing, photographers noticed odd patterns as private vehicles slipped through service entrances at strange hours, and plainclothes security appeared in greater numbers than during previous royal births, movements suggesting a level of coordination beyond simple crowd control. Even the birth announcement, though traditionally formatted, arrived after an unusually long delay, and its brevity contrasted sharply with the warm, expansive language used when George was born. Staff handling post-birth paperwork recalled repeated requests from palace representatives for certified copies of specific documents, far more than normally required, each one carefully verified, as though maintaining an unbreakable chain of custody was critical. In the years that followed, attempts by researchers and journalists to obtain routine statistical data about births at St. Mary's during that period met unexpected roadblocks, with hospital administrators citing regulations and privacy concerns as they refused access, leaving a formidable wall of bureaucracy. Around that timeframe, the fictional narrative took another turn when the first petition demanding DNA testing appeared on a major online platform, emerging only days after the rumors reached widespread attention. The petition demanding DNA testing entered the fictional spotlight with carefully crafted language that avoided direct accusations while claiming such testing would serve the public interest. Within hours it gathered thousands of signatures, then tens of thousands, and soon hundreds of thousands. Its creator remained hidden behind a throwaway email address and privacy-shielded connections, making every effort to trace their identity futile. As momentum grew, legal experts appeared on news programs to debate whether such testing could ever be compelled, with constitutional scholars outlining the intricate web of laws and traditions protecting the royal family from actions of this nature. Some argued that modern expectations of transparency should extend even to royalty, while others insisted centuries of precedent could not simply be discarded. The discussions grew increasingly heated as commentators infused their own political beliefs, shifting the debate far beyond legal theory. A prominent human rights lawyer then announced plans to file a formal challenge to compel testing, arguing that matters of succession and legitimacy carried national significance that outweighed personal privacy. Although most experts believed the case had little chance of success, the lawyer maintained that the principle was worth the fight. Crowdfunding efforts quickly surpassed expectations, fueling the initiative further. Meanwhile, palace lawyers worked quietly behind closed doors, researching precedents from other constitutional monarchies and reviewing everything from medieval succession traditions to modern privacy laws as they constructed multiple layers of defense in preparation for any legal action that might follow. Behind the palace walls, lawyers continued building layers of legal protection, confident in the family's defenses, even as leaked hints suggested their work was proceeding smoothly. The debate widened to include Charlotte herself, with child welfare advocates warning that subjecting a minor to DNA testing to satisfy public curiosity would be exploitative, citing laws designed to protect children from being pawns in adult disputes. Opposing voices argued that her unique status as a potential heir might justify special considerations, a perspective amplified by international observers who noted that similar rumors had troubled royal families elsewhere, though few faced such intense social media scrutiny. Medical ethicists joined the conversation, exploring whether compelled testing could ever be justified without full consent, weighing scenarios where privacy rights should remain absolute against cases of public significance. Ethical discussions quickly became complex, touching on bodily autonomy, genetic privacy, and the extraordinary position of public figures, yet no consensus emerged. Some members of Parliament received constituent letters demanding official inquiries, and a few backbench MPs considered raising formal questions, though party leadership discouraged action due to the potential constitutional ramifications. Meanwhile, scientific experts explained DNA testing to the media, clarifying accuracy rates and the impossibility of falsifying modern results, but their educational efforts did little to curb the fervor, which had already moved beyond purely scientific concerns. The debate even reached private genetics companies, with some facing pressure to refuse service to anyone attempting to match results with royal markers, while others defended open access to genetic information, choosing instead to issue cautious statements emphasizing customer privacy and compliance with legal standards. Religious leaders from various denominations weighed in on the moral dimensions of the fictional controversy, some emphasizing the importance of truth and transparency in public life, while others stressed the values of protecting family privacy and refraining from judgment. Theological perspectives added yet another layer to an already complex discourse, and church leaders close to the royal family faced the delicate task of supporting them while addressing legitimate questions from congregations. What had begun as an anonymous petition evolved into a national debate, intertwining law, ethics, politics, science, and morality, with every new voice adding complexity to a controversy that no one could fully control. And amid the arguments, the human reality at the center faded from view. Kate's sudden public reappearance at a garden party, hosted by a prominent charity, highlighted the personal toll of the ordeal. Arriving without advance notice to the press, she immediately shocked observers. The elegant, composed figure of weeks past appeared diminished, her dress hanging loosely, her hair dull and hastily styled. She moved through the event on autopilot, offering polite smiles and brief, rehearsed phrases, yet her eyes remained distant and unfocused, as if looking through those she greeted. Her hands shook visibly while accepting a cup of tea, setting it down without drinking, and she continuously clasped and unclasped her fingers in a nervous, unfamiliar gesture. Guests exchanged worried glances, noting the heightened vigilance of her protection officers, who maintained close proximity, exchanged hand signals, and stayed ready to intervene if needed. After less than 20 minutes, Kate abruptly ended her appearance. Her face pale, she stopped mid-conversation, turned without explanation, and walked swiftly toward the exit where her car awaited, her security detail flanking her closely, ensuring her safe departure from the garden party. Her protection officers quickly surrounded Kate, forming a protective barrier as they escorted her to the waiting car, which pulled away before most guests fully registered what had happened. The brief appearance sparked intense media coverage within hours, with news outlets scrutinizing every photograph and video clip, while body language experts publicly assessed her condition. Their consensus was troubling. She appeared to be experiencing severe psychological distress, possibly on the verge of collapse. Medical professionals watching remotely expressed concern, though aware of the limitations of such assessments. Within days, official announcements confirmed that Kate would step back from all royal duties indefinitely, citing the need for private family time and asking for public understanding, without specifying a return date, a vagueness that only fueled further speculation. Palace officials declined to comment on whether she was receiving professional mental health support. Retreating to Anmer Hall, the family's country residence in Norfolk, she spent her days in private, often avoiding even household staff. Meals left outside her door were frequently returned barely touched. Concerned staff reported her declining condition, but felt powerless, and their worries passed through palace channels without clear guidance. Her parents made frequent visits, taking over care of the children and maintaining routines, while her mother spent hours beside her daughter, mostly in silence, emerging each time looking haggard and frightened. Attempts by friends from Kate's pre-royal life to reach her, through calls, messages, or personal visits, were largely unanswered. When she did respond, her words came in short, disjointed sentences. The children, sensing the tension, struggled as well. Charlotte became clingy and anxious, George tried to adopt a protective role, and little Louis regressed in some behaviors. Discreet inquiries from palace officials to Kate's past medical providers suggested attention to confidentiality and privacy, fueling speculation about whether she was receiving treatment, though its exact nature remained unknown. Her fragile appearance marked a turning point, turning whispered concerns into a visible crisis and revealing the immense strain she had been carrying alone. Even her brief, ill-fated return to public life had made the depth of her distress unmistakably clear. The woman was overwhelmed, exhausted, and slipping beyond the reach of ordinary support, leaving the palace, the public, and even her own family to confront the painful reality of her condition. The pressure had driven her to a breaking point, and only time would tell whether she could recover. In response, King Charles summoned senior members of the royal family to an emergency meeting at Windsor Castle on a Tuesday morning, including Prince Edward and Sophie, Princess Anne, and several long-serving palace officials. William received the summons but declined to attend, a notable breach of royal protocol during a family crisis that left Charles speechless when informed by his private secretary. The meeting convened in a private sitting room steeped in decades of family discussions. Charles sat in his customary chair, visibly burdened, outlining the escalating public speculation and William's complete withdrawal. His voice remained steady, though his hands gripped the arms of the chair tightly, betraying the weight of responsibility. Princess Anne spoke first, her typically blunt style sharpened by urgency, advocating for a firm public denial and legal threats against those spreading rumors, viewing the situation as an attack demanding strong defense. While some nodded in agreement, others questioned whether such aggression might worsen matters. Prince Edward suggested caution, arguing that a dignified silence had historically protected the family during prior scandals. Queen Camilla arrived late, having visited Anne Hall to check on Kate, and her report silenced the room. Kate was barely functioning, struggling to care for herself or her children. The normally composed Queen Consort's face reflected genuine fear, and several attendees averted their eyes, absorbing the severity of the princess's breakdown. Charles drew a slow, heavy breath, realizing the crisis had grown beyond public perception into a deeply personal and potentially constitutional emergency. King Charles made the decisive choice to visit William at Kensington Palace personally, overriding objections from his security team about the lack of advanced preparation. Believing that father-to-son communication might penetrate William's self-imposed isolation, where official channels had failed, he traveled with minimal security. Arriving in the early afternoon, staff watched anxiously as Charles made his way to William's private quarters, aware that the next hours could shape the family's future. Their conversation lasted over 3 hours, with staff stationed in nearby rooms reporting occasional raised voices, though the words remained indistinct. At one point, a heavy object crashed against a wall, prompting security officers to move closer, ready to intervene, but no signal came. The argument eventually subsided into long stretches of silence, punctuated only by William's anguished cries. When Charles emerged, he appeared visibly older, his face drawn and grey. Palace officials immediately began drafting multiple response strategies, preparing statements ranging from complete denials to partial admissions and calls for privacy. Legal experts weighed potential consequences and liabilities, while communication specialists analysed how each approach might be received by the media and international audiences. Planning stretched late into the night, with every scenario considered. Queen Camilla took on the role of mediator, spending hours on the phone with William, listening more than speaking, emphasizing compassion over judgment to keep lines of communication open even as tensions escalated. She also coordinated with Kate's family, ensuring they understood the royal family's concern and commitment to support her during the crisis. The release of the palace statement, though carefully worded, marked a turning point in the royal family's crisis. While it aimed to protect privacy and maintain dignity, its vagueness left questions unanswered and scrutiny undiminished. For Princess Charlotte, the effects were indirect but profound. The media frenzy, speculation about her parentage, and the visible distress of her parents created an environment where she became an unwitting symbol of the controversy. Even without direct involvement, the intensity of public attention shaped how the world perceived her identity, potentially influencing how she understood herself as she grew. Charlotte's early childhood, which should have been defined by normal family routines and playful exploration, was now overshadowed by rumors, speculation, and the stress felt by her parents. Observers noted subtle changes in her interactions, with her becoming more cautious in the presence of adults outside the family and increasingly aware of the media gaze. Though Kate and William worked to shield their children, the sheer scale of the public attention made complete protection impossible. The family's focus shifted to maintaining normalcy at home, but Charlotte's formative years were inevitably touched by the weight of the controversy. The The crisis underscored how public fascination with royal lives can ripple inward, affecting even the youngest members in ways that are invisible to the outside world. As the palace struggled to manage perception and protect the family, Charlotte remained at the center, an innocent witness to a storm not of her making. The long-term implications for her sense of self, her understanding of privacy, and her relationship with her parents would likely unfold slowly, shaped by both familial support and the persistent gaze of the public.